Hey, Dennis here. I want to welcome you back to the channel. The other day I was looking through my videos and I've been kind of thinking about I should get back to doing some more of the teaching videos. I only did 3 and so I renamed them today. They're actually named Learning to Paint Plein Air, episode number 1, 2, and 3. I'll link number 1 right here and it'll lead you to number 2 and to number 3. And so tonight we'll do number 4, and I looked back and where we left off was actually doing a little bit of a value study using color. And so I'm going to use that same little sketch that we did before. This time we're going to introduce some temperature change. So all right, I'll get turned around, get set up, and let's do this. Okay, so I don't know if you remember this drawing from before, but we basically had a tree in the foreground here, just a bit of a very forward tree. We had a middle one over here, but I'll skip that one for now. And then back here was kind of a second row of trees, a little bit shorter than these. And then in the very back over here, we just had a very low level. These should probably be just a little bit higher. I'm gonna take this one up off of here. Let's take these up into here a little bit. Very simple sketch. And one of the things that we want to do here is it doesn't take a whole lot to say what's going on here, but this is the reason that I'm actually doing these in the studio, and eventually I will carry this series into the field, but for now I'm doing it in the studio just because the things that I want to show you here will actually be tools that will make it a lot easier for you when you actually do get out into the field, because you'll have some of these things in your head. You'll be like, okay, these forward groups look like this, and I have to do this to the ones that are further in the distance and all that. So anyway, we'll just start with a ground color, and I'm just going to take some cad orange and just mix some white with it, and then just warm that up a bit with some yellow. I'm actually using an Indian yellow, and the ground's going to be a pretty light value, so, and I might just put a touch of red in that. There we go. We'll just lay this in here, and I'm using just a canvas pad. These are great for practicing at home. You know, they're not very expensive, and you can use them over and over if you scrape the paint off, or just paint right over them. It really doesn't matter. But, so the ground's kind of orange. And we'll carry that back into there. Alright, and maybe we'll just touch just a hint of blue just here in the foreground. Just because solid colors bother me, I guess I'm gonna just put a touch of texture in here, nothing too serious, and that's just for now. Alright. And then I'll jump to this forward tree, and what we're going to do is we're going to take some Indian yellow, which this particular brand of Indian yellow is just so transparent. It's actually a Daniel Smith brand, and not something I really love, but And then I'm just using a little bit of a cobalt blue hue, and just kind of getting a nice warm green color, and we're just going to lay that in here in this foreground tree that's right here. I'm just going to go ahead and take that right off the canvas there. And then I'll take that same color, let me mix a little bit more of that, and I'm going to darken that a bit. I'm just going to use a touch of red, which I'm just using an alizarin crimson here, and we're just going to go in here with some darks just to create a little bit of contrast, higher contrast here in the foreground, which will also help relay distance. So I'm just going to lay this in here. And then I'm going to come back with the Indian yellow, and I'm actually going to just touch a little bit of white, and let's see, I want to get this a little more blue in that, and then some more yellow. And you can see I'm just modifying this pool just to bring up the and that's kind of what I was looking for, a bit of a mustard yellow color. And we'll just throw a few highlights in here where they might be laying, and okay, good enough for that foreground. Except I would like to, one more thing before we leave that. I'm going to deepen this, and I'm just using a little alizarin crimson with a little more cobalt, just to get a little bit of a darker. There we go. Okay. Now the next row of trees here, when I'm adjusting temperature, and I've probably talked about this before, but as trees and things recede into the distance, they actually they take on more of the sky color, so they become more blue. So and this is kind of what I do when I'm working out. These trees and these trees are the same trees as this tree. So so the colors that we select as we go back into the distance here, they have to relate to this in the foreground, unless it's a completely different tree, like maybe you have a row of pines or something here. But for my exercise, these are all the same trees, and so now I'll show you how adjusting the temperature of this set of colors will put these in the proper distance of as it goes back toward the horizon. So we'll start with this secondary pile here that we made, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more blue to that, and then I'm going to actually take some titanium white, and I'm going to just change the value of that, and I can see that it's quite cool already, so I'm gonna just warm it up just a bit with some of the Indian yellow, and we're gonna start with that. It's a bit of a mid-tone, and so we'll put that in, and I can already see that I could actually bring the value of that even a little bit further, and so it doesn't get chalky. I'm just touching the Indian yellow, and as I lighten that, I'm just putting a little more of that back in there. So Now you can see I have quite a bit of, I've added quite a bit of blue to this. And I'm going to add now just a little bit of blue. I'm doing the same thing I did here. Now that I've got this established, I'm actually going to strengthen the darks. So I'll add a little bit of cobalt blue into the same mix. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to strengthen some of the darks. Being kind of stingy with the blue, but and this is so it relates well to this front group. So, and that's mostly down here in the bottom where all the shadows and stuff live, is where the majority of that dark is going to be, because we're already a pretty dark value compared to what the sky's going to be. I'm just using the white actually as a reference. So and then I'm going to go back into this pile and I'll just use the same color in there, but I'm going to bring the value of that up as well. But you can see that it's pretty warm compared to the pool that I just made. So this is just for a few highlights in here, and I may even just use just a touch more titanium white. But I'm mixing it in the warm pile intentionally so that it maintains a little bit of warmth. There, that's pretty good. And then I may come in here and just lay a little bit of this in. This will help these relate to each other a little bit more, since this one got quite yellow in the foreground. There. Okay. And then for this one back here, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back and now I'm going to actually blue my mix even more. And then I'm going to take my titanium white and I'm going to bring the value of that where I think it should be. And that's got pretty chalky, so I'm going to go into my Indian yellow. I'm going to add just a touch of that in there to just warm that up just a little bit. And then we'll test that, and I think we can go a little lighter actually, and a little bluer. I don't know if you can tell how chalky that just got, but it got pretty chalky there. So we're going to go in with some white, and after I add a bunch of white, I always go back to one of my colors that are in the mix, and I just put a little bit of it back in there, just to get rid of that chalkiness. So all right, let's see how this looks initially, and then we'll go back and change it here in a second if we need to. I think it's because I've got so much of this color in my brush. Let me get that out of here. All right. So I'm going to actually, I have this saying that I use often, and that's that you don't know where too much lives until you've gone there. So I kind of prefer to push these colors a little further than I think they need to go, because I can always come back. But sometimes with both value and highlights and things like that, and sometimes you just don't go far enough, because you gotta kind of find out where those boundaries are before you can start to pull back. So that's getting closer, although I think that could probably be mixed even a little bit lighter in value and a little bit bluer. So I'm going to put a little bit more of that in there. There we go. And there's a lot of blue on the brush. All right. And I'm going to lighten that up, touch more blue. Let's do that one more time. And then I'm just going to touch a little bit of this warm color. And that's just going to go kind of in here for some of those highlight areas. I'm just going in here, maybe there's just a little bit of that distant tree line poking through there, so we'll put that in there. All right. Now I do the we'll just lay in a quick sky color. We'll grab some titanium white and a little bit of some of the it's got a little greenish tint to it because I had so much in my brush, but that doesn't really matter either. I'm just gonna kind of warm that up a bit. I'll just touch the yellow, and we'll just lay some of this in here. All right, let's get that color out of there. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but that's not working out, so. All right. Let's get some white here. And some blue. There we go. You can see the kind of the value of the sky is much closer to the value of this tree line, and I'm actually kind of softening these edges just a little bit back here, and that also will help you with generating that distance. And of course I'm going to pick up some green and all that right here. That's not unusual. Going fast. All right. So let's wash this out again. All right. Picking up lots of green, but that's okay. All right, let's do that one more time. Okay, and then for my ground, I actually do the something similar. I use the same pile that I had here, and I just go into that, and I bring some blue into that as well, and I change the value of that, and I'll come back in with a little bit of cat orange just to get that closer to orange than green. There's quite a bit of blue in that mix, so carrying a lot of paint here for this small area. But anyway, bring the value of that up some more. And then I'll just go just a little bit lighter, put just a touch of orange back in that. And then this will be all the way back here. Okay, that should just about do it. Of course, the flat planes, like we mentioned before in the other video, the flat planes are lighter in value than these vertical planes. So not as light as the sky, but lighter. So okay, so there you go. So if you compare this one to the last one we did, you can see how instead of just using value, we've got 3 sets of trees that relate well to each other, but recede into the distance through, just as a quick review, through softening the edges back here as that got further away, because it's in a lot more atmosphere, things like moisture in the air and stuff like that. And then so we've changed the value, but we still kept some of the warmth. And but what we did is we just kept adding blue to our mix until we got back here. And but we still went in and added some, a couple highlights and stuff so that it related well. And then we went into the ground and did a very similar technique by kind of bluing this orange, which became more of a gray color, and so that it didn't have any warmth, as much warmth as this foreground. So okay. All right, so I hope you found that useful, and that you can doing these little sketches like this with just you don't have to do the same arrangement of the elements, the trees and things every time. You can switch those around, and what will happen is if you practice those just from your mind, just a simple landscape like that, and just strictly work on values and temperature, you can really start to progress in a hurry. And then when you do go outdoors and you paint and you're looking at a series of tree lines, you don't have to think as much about that. You can get that front one nailed down the way you want it, and then just start adjusting your mixture, both in value and temperature as you move back toward the horizon, and you're all set. And so thanks for hanging out with me tonight and checking out my video. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with somebody who you think might like to learn how to paint plein air. And as well, I'm offering t-shirts now on my website at DennisTysonPleinAir.com, and I'll put a link to that down below. Trying to find a way to continue to be able to make these videos and pay for some of the consumables and things. And so I thought, what the heck, designing some t-shirts might be really nice that deal specifically with plein air. You can go there and check them out if you like one. You can pick one up. That would be really sweet. And I will catch you later.